All right, our next match. Now, this was an excellent match on a lot of different levels. Steve Maclin and Trey Miguel for the X Division champion. This is how you do a rivalry match right here.
It was very hard-hitting, very brutal.
Steve Maclin is quickly becoming one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. He has a moveset that is very snap, very much akin to his body type and his personality, and it works for him. He's not trying to do flippy stuff. It looks impactful, but it's very brutal. Yeah. It's very easy. It's very simplistic, but it's very easy.
It was a very brutal looking. It was a very brutal match.
Steve Maclin's really come into his own. I mean, Trey Miguel, bless his soul, he sold like a beast. He made Steve Maclin look like $1 million. But there has to be that duality with wrestling.
That's how wrestling works.
Right. I think these two, well, number one, they had a rivalry that was like 2 months in the making for this one-on-one.
Yeah.
And also they had the stipulation that if Trey Miguel won, Steve Maclin could not go for the title again as long as Steve Miguel was still champion.
Or Trey Miguel was champion. He said Steve Miguel.
Did they really say Steve Miguel?
Yeah, he said it was Trey Miguel. But.
So if Trey Maclin lost... I mean, I really like this, but Trey Miguel is still the champion with the Meteora. A great ending to it, too.
Yeah, great ending to that rivalry.
It was very good.
Yep.
And I think this was Macklin's first one-on-one loss in Impact.
I don't know off the top of my head.
But great. It was a really fantastic match.
I think you're right, but I can't remember.
All right, Peanut Gallery, let's make this shit majestic again. So, with this match, I would have not done anything differently on a physical level.
Right.
But them mentioning the Royal Rumble as much as they did not have to mention the Royal Rumble in any capacity.
But that was just the big news.
It was the big news. If they mentioned it once, fine, but they mentioned it too many times, and it took me away from it. Also, the intensity in some parts of this match were not all the way there. If this is a blood feud, make it feel like that.
I don't know that it was a blood feud.
Well, now keep in mind, Mickie James beat Deonna Purrazzo for the championship in that historic reign. So in a way, it was a blood feud. We were there live when that happened.
Right.
Biggest pop of the night, I swear to God. But it was a blood feud because that's how Deonna Purrazzo viewed this championship.
But it's kind of over at this point. I think Deonna Purrazzo's moving on to different things. I think Mickie James moving on to different things. And
I'm happy this was the main event, by the way.
I'm happy too.
I think even if they were not going to announce that Royal Rumble entry thing that WWE did, this was going to be the main event.
Oh, absolutely.
There was no point, and I hate saying this because this is mean, there was no point on Cardona being in this match.
No, there wasn't. It was really a Moose versus W. Morrissey thing.
If it was only going to be Moose versus W. Morrissey, they would have done a different rivalry. And I think Mack Cardona and W. Morrissey were taken out of a proper one-on-one match. Either or. If it was Moose versus Cardona, great. If it was Moose versus W. Morrissey, great.
Right.
A three-way match in this just felt a little off to me.
It did. It was kind of that third wheel situation.
Right. Also, Cardona was the main focus of this rivalry where people were really backing him, and they still were during the show.
Yeah.
But him eating the pin after everything that happened and how they built it was the wrong decision.
I don't know. I don't think they had a choice.
Because they booked themselves into a corner by having this three-way. If they wanted to do W. Morrissey and Moose, that would have been whatever. And if they wanted to do that, okay, then he would have eaten the pin. But Moose emphasized that Cardona was a mid-carder at best. And for Cardona to be pinned clean, it emphasized that.
Well, that just makes Moose all the more powerful looking.
Right. No, it made him look right. Cardona did not feel like a main eventer in this.
Because it was a three-way.
Exactly. It shouldn't have been a three-way in the first place.
Yeah.
They booked themselves into a corner, and they made the wrong choice on how this match ended.
Yeah.
If
but
they
that's just is what it is.
If they were going to do where Cardona ate the pin, I would have done like a chair shot or a bell shot or something like, a cheat thing, you know? That at least would have saved where Cardona could have theoretically have won that, or it was by fluke.
Right.
Too many people.
Yep, too many people in this match.
There was no, if it was just Violent by Design taking on Heath, Rhino, and Eddie Edwards, that would have made this match infinitely better.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Oh, yeah.
The Good Brothers versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack should have been a totally separate match. They were shoehorned in there to get those guys on the card.
Right.
That's
pretty much it.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for it, because guess what?
There was just too many people.
The Heath Rhino Violent by Design thing was the hardcore match that this should have been.
Right.
And Eddie Edwards being put in there, if they want to do that just to have the balancing effect out, fine. Because Eddie Edwards is the hardcore guy.
Right.
But the other two teams, no reason for it. You had plenty of time to have a TNA or an Impact World Tag Team Championship match.
No, absolutely. It just didn't happen.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Just absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't
have done anything different from the debut of Jonah to the match itself structurally and where everybody looked good after.
Right. And again, this is part of the redemption arc for Josh Alexander.
Right. And that is why Jonah was a big guy going in there.
Right. He was a formidable wall in the way of the redemption. And he had to overcome
and now it's going to be the Charlie Haas arc, which is fine. So I wouldn't have really done anything different with this match. I thought it was structured really well. The rivalry was great, and
I think Jonah has a few more months left, so we'll see who he faces at Rebellion, because you know he's going to be in a match at Rebellion.
Exactly. So
I would not have changed a thing.
I wouldn't have changed a thing with it. I may have wanted to have Jonathan Gresham maybe do something with Impact a little bit more before the show itself, because it just felt like a cold title match to me.
It pretty much was,
And it was good structurally. I wouldn't have done anything different inside of that. But I really wish they would have built a story around, hey, let's up the ante. Let's make it pure rules. We didn't know it was pure rules until the match started.
Right.
If it was pure rules, that's what makes it important.
Right.
It was just, there were just some story aspects with this that could have been done better.
A little bit better, absolutely.
Right. So that was just kind of the only thing for me as it relates to that. I wouldn't have done anything different with this in every single way, shape, or form, including the winner.
Right. Because Steve Maclin is now even more pissed off than he was before. What's his next move?
Maybe as soon as Charlie Haas's match is done, it's going to be Maclin versus Alexander.
Or maybe he goes after a different championship, takes advantage of that. He's pissed. He's a pissed off gentleman.
I think him going after Josh Alexander would actually be the next really good match for Rebellion, because obviously they're going to do Moose versus Morrissey. Let's do a number one contenders match between Maclin and Alexander.
Why?
Because both
Why?
of them
Maclin lost. Maclin's just a pissed off redneck now.
Well, what other title can he go for? The digital media champion has to step down. The only other title.
That's not. Why do you think that's a step down necessarily?
Because the only time that this title has actually been defended, it has not been defended on pay-per-view yet. It's been defended on pre-shows and stuff on social media.
So
how can you sit there and say that it's not a step down? It's kind of a step down.
I'm just saying that's a perfect way for him to go about getting a title if he wants to, because he's a pissed off guy. He was going to take advantage of something, and
maybe he wins the belt and puts it on the line every single week or something like that. That at least builds the credibility of that belt, but also that there's going to be a development on a good match.
Right. But that's the point. The point is that now he's pissed off. He doesn't deserve number one contender. He deserves none of that. He lost the match fair and square, and now he's just pissed off, and he is going to look for a way to get gold around his waist. That's my point.
Okay.
He does not need to be a number one contenders match for the world title.
Okay. Here's the thing.
We need a few more of these types of matches for these women to be more comfortable. I think that starting with 6 people was the wrong decision. Yep. They should have started with like 3 or 4.
Right, because we've seen that before.
Right.
That would have been fine. Like a 6-person thing to determine it, because now you're just adding people.
Well,
for no
again,
reason.
they're not comfortable with the Ultimate X. You could tell. Why do you have the max number of people that can be in this match for the first one?
Right.
Have like 3 or 4 of them instead of 6.
I think that would have actually put a benefit onto the match itself. Have like Jordynne Grace, Tasha Steelz, because they're the ones who brought it up, and maybe
Chelsea Green.
Right. I mean, the other one's like, okay, Rosemary's been with the tag. Lady Frost just debuted, and Alisha Edwards has not been on TV. Why did they get that opportunity?
Right.
At least Jordynne Grace is a champion in some way, shape, or form. Tasha Steelz helped not only get the match off the ground, but she's been on TV constantly, and Chelsea Green has been wrestling constantly and winning matches.
Right.
That would have been fun, and I think that would have actually added to the match.
Right, because then the spots could have been a little higher quality.
Right.
But anyways, a couple of other things. The ROH invasion. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe if they
I don't know how much follow-up there's going to be on this. I mean, I understand why they're doing it, but I need some. They haven't done a lot of. Have they done a lot of follow-up with this?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
They have attacked. They attacked on last week's Impact. They attacked D'Lo.
Okay.
They had a couple of other involvements, including in the main event.
Right.
But my problem is that the people that they chose was a bit different. Because people who watch it, if the people who watch Impact are going, there's the only assumption, 75% of them watch Ring of Honor. It's almost the same fan base.
Okay.
And the fact that they had Taven and Vincent, who had that huge blood rivalry, now standing shoulder to shoulder like nothing fucking happened, is the
How long ago was that blood feud?
It was, the number one contendership changed hands, I think, like 2 weeks before Final Battle. So it was still fairly fresh.
This was a recent, okay.
It's still fairly fresh, but also they had a big blood feud.
Right.
This was not just a small blood feud. And also, they're keeping the same sort of gimmicks without any sort of synergy.
Right.
It kind of feels like
it kind of feels like they're
it kind of feels like, oh god, what was that team called? It was Bo Dallas. It was Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, Heath Slater, and Curtis Axel. What were they?
I don't remember that.
Social Outcasts.
Oh, there we go.
They were the social. I feel like they're the social outcasts.
Right.
And that's how not what you should feel like as it relates to this.
Right.
Have them maybe wear like a T-shirt or some innuendo where they have like
something,
a color synergy.
right? Something that brings them together. Other one. Your thoughts on Tom Phillips?
Whatever his name is.
His no longer slave name being a part of the show. He replaced Matt Stryker.
Matt Stryker's firing, I don't understand it because I thought he was doing fine.
Yeah.
Do you believe a 3-person would have worked?
No, there can only be 2 in that. D'Lo Brown is just fine.
Yeah,
he's fine. He's fine doing the color commentary.
It's obviously a decision that they made, but I feel like they did that a little unceremoniously to Stryker.
I don't think it was either a good or a bad thing. Now I can see some positives. I can also see some negatives. I just don't know. I mean,
Stryker's tweet kind of gave me the impression that they just fired him, and my thing was, why?
Maybe it wasn't all Impact decision making because they are still owned by Anthem.
That's true.
But anyways, that was another new development. I can't think of anything else that happened.
Not particularly off the top of my head, other than I was going to want to talk about the orientation of the match because I wouldn't have done anything differently with this.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because in the general overall thing of the show, this Hard to Kill was a perfect example on how to structure the orientation of matches, which is very important for people's interest to stay with the show. You don't want to burn them out too quickly, but you don't want technical wrestling to start off the show because they'll get them bored.
Right.
For every 2 matches, they had a slower paced match structurally. So they had first the Ring of Honor World Championship match, the Ring of Honor World Championship match. They had a couple of matches. then they had the Hardcore War, where basically there wasn't a lot of technical wrestling. It was just hit somebody over the head or put them through a table.
Right.
There wasn't. It was a perfect melding of those two aspects.
It keeps your interest up.
Right.
Okay. So next week, I don't know when the when is the Terminus event?
I do not know. I can look it up really quick here if my shit wants to. Because actually, I had that pulled up a little bit before. I don't think it's actually anytime soon.
I thought it was like later this month.
I think I butchered the spelling on that, but we're just gonna roll with it. Wikipedia, work with me today.
They're not going to. I don't think it exists.
You don't think?
I don't think there's a page for it.
Okay, I will double check on that. I think it's next week. I think it's on the 16th. I could be wrong.
Anyways, we're gonna cover that if that's being covered. If not, then
today's the 16th. I think it's the 23rd.
Anyways, so So we'll cover that if that is indeed a part of next week. If not, we'll have a topic. It's TBD.
Right.
Because there's no other pay-per-view. So anyways, that's kind of all we got. Anything else we need to go over before we...
Other than follow us on all of our social medias, become a patron. Yes, we'll let you know ahead of time on what the next thing is. I think I know what we're going to do if we don't have a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're good. And as always, be...
Majestic.